Hey folks, welcome to Friendly Orbit, the podcast that draws us together no matter how far we fly. I'm Ceres, I'm in the know for my dino show, and I'm joined this week by...
The Theia in the mirror is closer than it appears.
And...
I'm Proteus, ready to raw and raise the bar.
And...
I'm Copernicus, I'm here to put a D in dino.
And D stands for?
Dedication.
Of course.
This week, I'm going to share some of the fun stuff I've learned about dinosaurs by listening to paleontology podcasts with my friends in the format of an overly produced quiz show.
Can't wait to see the produced parts.
Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff.
All right, so first off, a disclaimer, right? I'm not a paleontologist. I just listened to like a few paleontology podcasts, mainly the Terrible Lizards podcast, which we'll put in the description. I also used a little bit of Google and the Encyclopedia Britannica and stuff like that. So, I hope everything I say today will be accurate, but we all know that something I say today will be inaccurate, at minimum one. But the upside is there's so much good dinosaur content out there that I'm sure you can find all your own personal misinformation by just doing a little research.
Yeah, if you're listening to this to learn about dinosaurs, you're in the wrong place. If you're here to be entertained by people not knowing about dinosaurs, you're in the right place.
With that said, welcome to 2025's most important social event for all our Cretaceous critters. It's our Dino Quiz. Follow along as we present 10 harrowing challenges to each of our contestants to crown the smartest-saur of them all, whose progeny will rise to the top of the food web and who will be left to face extinction. All right, players, you are dinosaurs, and you're trying to survive in the ancient world. And to survive, you need to prove your cleverness and knowledge of the world around you. Which one of you will develop into the best species that ends up ruling Earth? Each of you needs to pick a dinosaur to be. So let's start with you, Proteus. What kind of dinosaur do you want to be?
Brontosaurus.
All right, you're a Brontosaurus. Are those are sauropods, right?
Dude, are you asking us?
Yeah, I am.
This is literally your job.
To know everything about dinosaurs?
Yes.
All right, yeah. Okay.
I think
Yeah.
it is
Big, long neck. Imagine a python has swallowed a pig. That's the sort of shape.
Yeah. Like in the Little Prince, the snake that swallowed an elephant that ends up looking like a hat, kind of like
Yeah, that.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you stretch a snake over an elephant, is the
yes.
All right. And what about you, Theia?
The flying ones don't really count as dinosaurs, as we all know. They're just flying reptiles.
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
Who knows?
I guess that's the question.
Just tell me a dinosaur.
I'll take the Velociraptor, which
Basic.
are tiny.
All right, Copernicus. What dinosaur do you want to be?
I'm gonna go for the swimming ones. So Mosasaurioidea.
Okay. All right. You'll be a mosasaur.
Yes.
All right. I will read questions and then you will answer. You usually answer one at a time as I call on you, but for certain questions, you'll have to lock in your answer via sophisticated, specialized communication devices that we specially designed for the show. Once I have your response,
iPhones soon on the market. As soon as we get the patent going.
Hey, I'm an Android guy. Don't come for my gig.
Once I have your response via speech or text, we'll read it aloud and evaluate the accuracy. Dinos, when you answer correctly, you get a number of reward eggs depending on the question. But if you answer falsely, catastrophe and extinction loom. You will lose half your eggs, rounded down, every time you answer false. Okay? There are certain questions, usually with every single question, I'll explain exactly the rules that apply to this question again, but just so you know. So some questions have special rules associated with them. I'll read them out to you if we deviate from the above script. Are there any questions at this point?
Do we get to eat the eggs in the end, or are they supposed to be the eggs of our progeny?
No, those are your eggs, so that would be cannibalism.
As a velociraptor who notoriously ate eggs, I need to know.
Any other questions?
Do we get plants
What do you mean?
to eat?
Every time you show your cleverness, you've shown it, and then you can eat plants, like sort of metaphorically, but the output is eggs. You get eggs for every question.
Mm.
Okay.
As a carnivore, can I bite the other contestants?
Only with consent. All right.
Well, I have one.
Without further ado, let's go dinos. Part 1. Dawn of a Dynasty. All right, question 1. Spot the stinker. I will read a statement to you. I will call on you in order to point out something wrong with the statement. For each mistake spotted, you get 1 egg. You can also try for a bonus egg if you can tell me what the correct phrasing would be. So not just what's wrong, but what would be right. A wrong answer or a wrong correction loses you half your eggs. So if you go for the bonus point and you get it wrong, you still lose half your eggs. Each of you must answer at least once, but I have at least 5 separate points written down that are incorrect about this statement.
Mm.
Ooh.
So you can go back for multiple rounds to try and answer, okay? But each of you has to answer at least once. Proteus, I think I'm going to pick you first. So this is the statement. 60 million years ago, dinosaurs ruled the land, sky, and sea before a giant meteorite crashed and the dinosaurs all went extinct, being replaced by birds and mammals. The complete and disproportionate disappearance of dinosaurs, when compared to other animals at the time, is a notable unsolved mystery. Can you point to one part of that statement that is wrong?
Well, I think the first thing is that it's not an unsolved mystery, since you just explained how they went extinct.
All right. Does that mean enough of the criteria?
That's
That
a
part-
grammatical.
Well, actually, you don't have to point out what's right. You just have to point out what's wrong. That part is wrong. All right. So it was a mass extinction event in which almost everything went extinct. I mean, that is one of the worst extinction events that ever happened. Dinosaurs are the most famous thing from the era. So there's kind of this effect where people are like, why did all the dinosaurs go extinct? And it's like, well, everything at the time was going extinct. There's not really. So in the past, there's been a lot of just so theories about, oh, well, all the dinosaurs maybe relied on this plant for their digestion. And then the mammals started eating that plant. All the dinosaurs everywhere went extinct because of it, right? And so these just so theories that don't explain the marine extinctions, the avian extinction, the air extinctions, and all the other stuff like that.
No one was getting excited about the little mice time.
So you have 1 egg.
Alright.
Copernicus, you can go next.
Yes, I think the time frame is not correct, right? It's not 16 million years ago. It was much longer.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So dinosaurs died out 66 million years ago.
Hey,
Exactly,
that was my
yeah.
bonus thing. I wanted to correct that. I know that number.
You can't do the bonus of somebody else. You can only do the bonus of the one that you point out.
I was about to say the exact number, and then you got there first.
Uh-huh.
Okay. You got your 1 egg. So
Thank
it's
you.
true. Dinosaurs died out 66 million years ago. So 60 million years ago, they ruled nada. All right. Theia, you're up.
Can you repeat the statement? Because
Absolutely.
by now, all the things that I was going to say have been stolen from me.
60 million
Unfairly.
years ago, dinosaurs ruled the land, sky, and sea before a giant meteorite crashed and the dinosaurs all went extinct, being replaced by birds and mammals. The complete and disproportionate disappearance of dinosaurs, when compared to other animals at the time, is a notable unsolved mystery.
Can I take 2?
No, you can only do 1.
Okay, then I will say that dinosaurs didn't entirely go extinct because birds are actually the descendants of dinosaurs. So I'm also going for the bonus point here.
That is correct. So dinosaurs did not entirely go extinct. Birds are dinosaurs. Often, in paleontological papers, people specify that they mean extinct dinosaurs or non-avian dinosaurs. But birds are descended from dinosaurs, and the way taxonomy works is that if you are descended from the same ancestor in a clade, you are a member of that clade. A clade is defined basically in somewhat of a theoretical way as sort of like one specific animal and all of its descendants, right? And so if birds are descended from dinosaurs, that means they are dinosaurs. And so yeah, birds are dinosaurs. So that is 2 points for you.
Ooh.
So currently, the velociraptors have 2 eggs, the brontosaurs have 1 egg, and the mosasaurs have 1 egg. There are still a few things wrong with the statement that have not yet been corrected. Does anybody want to go in for a second? You don't have to go in for a second round. At this point, you've all met your minimum. But does anybody want to go in for another round?
So you mentioned one giant meteorite.
Yes.
So I think there, if I'm not mistaken, I have heard theories that it wasn't just one. It was like in a short period, you might have multiple meteorites of a significant size instead of just one giant meteorite.
Wait, so you're going for the bonus question.
Yeah, I'm going
You
for
go
the
for the
bonus.
correction. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about that to tell you
Right.
if you're 100% wrong.
Right.
From my knowledge, I know of one specific meteorite with one specific impact crater that was extremely relevant.
I know there's a
maybe,
super big one.
Maybe there were more. I don't know enough to
Right,
say that
yeah.
you're wrong, so we're just going to call that even and
Okay.
say 0 eggs. None
Right.
lost, none gained. I don't know.
Okay.
If that is what is something that is incorrect about the statement, it's not one of the ones I did on purpose.
But I know exactly the crater you're talking about.
Yeah.
So you bring up a good point, because that I know it's not like meteorite is the wrong word to describe what it is.
Oh,
Because a meteorite
asteroid.
is a small.
Sorry.
An asteroid
Yeah.
and a comet. On top of that, I think that's the
It's-
running theory.
when an
But I
asteroid
wonder
hits-
if he said asteroid now or meteorite, because you said meteorite.
Meteorite is the word used in the text.
The meteor is the word.
Yeah.
Well, then
yeah.
I know that is incorrect, because a meteorite is tiny.
Okay,
And-
so I did a presentation once about asteroids,
But
meteor.
to be clear, I'm not going
Mhm.
for the bonus question. I'm not going to say that it was actually a comet, because I'm not sure enough about that.
So I did
Meteorite is wrong.
I did a presentation once in grade school about meteorites, comets, and asteroids. Okay, an asteroid is a large body that circles in our thing. A meteorite is any object once it's fallen onto the Earth,
No.
and a
Oh,
comet
nice.
is mostly snowball and has majority ice and has like weird elliptical patterns. So no, meteorite is the correct term as far as I
Right,
know
yes.
for the object that collided with the Earth. So you lose half your eggs, going back down to 1.
Yum, 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 yum.
All right. Any other corrections, or should I reveal the final answer?
There is one more correction,
Oh,
at
yeah,
least.
yeah.
Okay.
I know, I am asking you. Like,
Oh, there is. I think there's pretty much one more major one. Yeah.
I think
Wait.
ruled the. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Okay, I'm not sure
Mhm.
if this is what you intend us to
Mhm.
question, because over here you said they went extinct
Mm-hmm.
because of the.
Yeah, and one of the
The
things that we
meteorite.
covered is
I
that
know
they
it.
didn't all go
But
extinct.
it's not directly from the meteorite itself. It's because of all the chain reactions after the
Sure.
meteorite fell.
The way the text is phrased is, and the dinosaurs, a meteorite crashed, and the dinosaurs all went extinct. There's not
Okay,
like.
yeah, there's no
I
direct
think that's
link.
that's
But I know they
fairly
hit
That's fair.
the meteorite hit all of them. They were all at
Bouncing
the.
around.
strike.
Yeah.
It's driving across the surface of the
No,
Earth.
because they all met at Sam the T-Rex's birthday. That's
Yeah,
all.
the
Oh,
most
it's
popular.
The most horrible
popular
skipping
dinosaur.
stone of history.
Yeah, no, I'm going to correct that they didn't rule the sky, the earth, and the sea.
That is correct. Do you want to say what is the correct version of that?
I would say that they only ruled the earth. The other two, because I think
By
I
earth,
heard
you
enough
mean-
times as a child that flying and swimming reptiles do not belong to the dinosaurs.
By Earth, do you mean? I say here air. I say land, sky, and sea.
Yeah, I
Air,
mean the land.
Yes, that is correct. So that is 2 eggs for you. So actually, we don't know of any marine dinosaur. Mosasaurs are marine reptiles. They are not dinosaurs.
Oh, I'm
And-
not a dino.
And pterosaurs, which like pterodactyls and those classic. What are the other ones? Quetzalcoatlus.
Yeah, that's the one that I wanted to pick, Quetzalcoatlus, but I was like, that's not the dinosaur.
Yes,
So I was
Ashtarkets
like,
and all of that.
Velociraptor.
Yes, so those are pterosaurs, which are closely related to dinosaurs. And as research seems to progress, it seems like they keep getting closer and closer, but they are not dinosaurs. And so, although in the late Cretaceous you would have had some birds flying in the sky, right? They wouldn't have ruled the skies. The pterosaurs
That's
were
true,
still
yeah.
sort of like the dominant force. So yeah, it's only really accurate to say that dinosaurs ruled the land. Perfect.
Can
Question
you
1.
tell I love dinosaurs as a child?
Oh no, yes. I'm a reptile among all of us.
All right. Question 2. The format of this question is called Close Enough. I will ask you to estimate a figure. You will text me your guess. The closest guess will receive 2 eggs. The second closest egg will receive 1 egg. 0 eggs will be awarded for last place, but last place will not lose any eggs for being furthest off. Dinosaurs died out a long time ago, 66 million years ago, as we covered. But when did the Mesozoic, the geologic age in which they evolved and then ruled, start?
Ooh la la. This is a
So you're trying to text me the number of when did the Mesozoic start. For the listeners in the meantime, you currently have 3 eggs. Velociraptors currently have 3 eggs. Mosasaurs currently have 1 egg. And Brontosaurs currently have 1 egg. Sorry, I have a little bit of trouble keeping track of your dinosaur teams, but I think they're cute.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
When you started.
Mesozoic.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're going to try and estimate how many millions of years ago the Mesozoic started.
Are you good?
Wait, are we supposed to text you?
Yes, you're supposed to text me your response.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're just going to be like 1 year more than what Theia said, 1 year less than what Proteus said,
Yeah.
So I want you to commit to your answers ahead of time, and then we will identify who is the closest.
I have a guess, but I'm not sure if it's correct at all.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right.
What if we all did the same thing? What if we all had the same answer?
Okay. So, this is directly from Wikipedia. Following the Paleozoic, the Mesozoic extended roughly 186 million years, from 251 million years ago to 66 million years ago. Our responses we received were 320 million years ago, 130 million years ago, and 80 million years ago, which means the most accurate answer is first Theia with the Velociraptors, 320 million years ago, is closest to 250 million years ago. 130 million years ago goes to Copernicus with the Mosasaurs. And finally, the Brontosaurs get no eggs from this question. So 2 eggs, 1 egg, 0 eggs.
Thank you.
So
I remembered only one thing. What I remember was that dinosaurs have been extinct for a shorter time than they have actually existed. So I was like, it must be a long time.
Yeah, that's true.
It must be longer than 120 years ago. And then I overshot it. I was writing 200 million years ago first. Then I was like 320. I was like, no, more.
Yes, so dinosaurs were around for a really unimaginably, honestly, long time. They were around for 186 million years, well, approximately, because they start evolving into dinosaurs during the Triassic. But the Triassic period, which is the first period in the Mesozoic, it goes from 250 to 200 million, so it's about 50 long. The Jurassic period, the most cinema-worthy of all of them, goes from about 200 to 140, so again, about 50 long. And then the Cretaceous goes from 140 to 66, so almost 80, 90, almost 100 million years long. So dinosaurs were around for almost 3 times as long as it has been since they left.
That's insane.
It's so crazy.
Absolutely insane.
Though, Ceres, I will argue that the Cretaceous was the most cinema-worthy one because that's the one that had the T-Rex.
Yeah, but Jurassic Park.
I know.
So yeah, if you think of
Cretaceous Park,
like if you think of the start of the Mesozoic, it was an hour ago. Then dinosaurs went extinct 15 minutes ago, and they were around for 45 minutes of that hour.
Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, so now that we know a little bit about the time frame of how long they truly existed and a little bit of how they went extinct and what biome they lived in, let's go to question number 3. Our current egg score is
5.
5 for the Velociraptors. How many for?
Only 2.
2 for the Mosasaurs and 1 for the Brontosaurs.
Don't worry.
How did you get 5?
Because I got 3 on the first question, almost 4, and then 2 on this one, so it's 5.
Oh wow, that's a lot. Okay, congrats.
All right, yeah, but just remember
Don't worry,
everyone is 1 wrong answer away from being back at 2.
Yeah, like if I
Yes, let's go.
All right, question number 3. Spot the stinker again. I will read a statement to you. I will call on you in order to point out something wrong with the statement. For each mistake spotted, you get 1 egg, plus a bonus egg if you can tell me what the correct phrasing would be. But a wrong answer or a wrong correction loses you half your eggs. Each of you must answer at least once. I have 6 incorrect things about this answer, about this statement. So let me read the statement to you, and then I will call on you. There are a few hundred species of non-avian dinosaurs. After their rise to prominence in the Triassic, they represent about half of the large land animals of the Jurassic and Cretaceous, and can be found on every continent except Antarctica, which had already separated as its own continental mass by the time of the Triassic and was too cold anyway. The smallest dinosaurs were pony-sized animals, while the largest were approximately as long and as wide as a German bus and weighed about 5 times as much as an African elephant. The one clarification I'll make, I mean one of the buses without the bendy joint. I mean one of the normal-sized German buses that are used for public transport.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Proteus, you are the first. Can you point to any part of the statement that is incorrect?
Well, as a brontosaur, it's offensive that the largest dinosaurs were only as large as the German public transport bus. That is completely incorrect. We were way larger than that.
That is correct, actually. So I think that is both the correction and what is wrong. So you get 2 eggs for that. So the largest dinosaurs were huge. Paralititan, which is one of the largest dinosaurs we have found so far, is estimated to be between 20 and 30 meter long. Its one femur was like 2 meters long, just the femur, which is twice the 20 to 30 meters, which is twice as long as a German bus. So about as long as one of those bendy ones, even a little longer perhaps, and about equally wide to one of those buses. I feel like that gives you a feeling for their dimensions. They're actually quite skinny. They can be very long and very tall, but they're not as wide as you maybe would think. And Paralititan is estimated to be about 10 times as massive as an African elephant, which, square cube law, size of animals and stuff like that, 10 times as large as an African elephant is huge,
and very slow.
Yeah, to use a more complete fossil example, Brachiosaurus is estimated at, because Paralititan we've only found like the giant femur and some other parts. To use a more complete example, Brachiosaurus is estimated at 25 meters long, 12 meters high, and 30 to 45 tons heavy. 12 meters high. I don't know if you've ever been at the top of a 10-meter diving board. Imagine 2 more than that, and that is your standing height. Some people also speculate that there was like these tripod positions that sauropods could take sometimes where they would like rear back and use the big tail to sort of hold themselves. Imagine that. If you rear back, you get even huger. You get even huger than all of that. So yes, that is 1 correct point out and 1 correct correction. So 2 eggs to the Brontosaurus. Mosasaurus, you're up next.
Yes. So you mentioned the size ranged from the size of a pony all the way until the size of a German bus.
Yes.
So from what I remember, the smallest dinosaur is actually smaller than the size of a pony.
Yes, a Velociraptor, I take issue with this statement.
I believe they are definitely smaller, but in terms of
Can you give me an estimate of about how much smaller? And when I mean an estimate of how much smaller, I mean something like you would say, they're not pony-sized, they're armadillo-sized, or they're Great Dane-sized, or they're Chihuahua-sized, something like that.
Yes.
Can you give me where in that range?
So if I remember correctly from my childhood, when I went to this geology museum,
yes,
I think the smallest was 30 to 45 centimeter tall even.
That is both a great correction and a correct point out. The smallest dinosaurs were tiny. One tiny dinosaur, the Alvarezsaurus, was knee-high and is estimated to weigh 3 kilograms in total.
That's adorable.
I have owned dogs larger than that. Yes, so dinosaurs weren't not only are we often wrong about how big we imagine the largest lumbering titans of the dinosaurs were, we're often wrong about how small the tiny ones were.
I mean, if you want to be an incredibly pedantic person, which I love to be, according to what we said earlier about birds being dinosaurs, the smallest dinosaurs are actually like the smallest birds, which are much smaller than that. Right?
That is correct. From this point on in the quiz, generally when we say dinosaur, we mean non-avian extinct dinosaur.
I'm aware.
Theia, Velociraptors, you're up next. Would you like me to read the statement again?
Yeah, because once again, I was going to say that thing.
There are a few hundred species of non-avian dinosaurs. After their rise to prominence in the Triassic, they represent about half of the large land animals of the Jurassic and Cretaceous, and can be found on every continent except Antarctica, which had already separated as its own continental mass by the time of the Triassic, and was too cold anyway. The smallest dinosaurs were pony-sized animals, while the largest were approximately as long and wide as a German bus, and weighed about 5 times as much as an African elephant.
All right. It's pretty binary, so I'm not sure exactly how to correct it without already declaring it a wrong statement. I'm going to say that Antarctica had not separated yet from Pangaea and was thus not too cold or even separate was popular, like had dinosaurs essentially.
That is a correct point out and a correct correction. Yeah. So those are 2 eggs for you. Antarctica had not yet separated by the point of the early Triassic, and it wouldn't even really separate on its own. We would separate into one southern and one northern continental mass, and then Antarctica separated further from the southern continental mass. And also, it was way warmer back then than it is today. So Antarctica was A, not in the position it is in today, but it is also B, not as cold. And by the late Cretaceous, where Antarctica is in a much more familiar position than it is today, we have records of vegetation. We have record of thriving wildlife, a very different, an environmental system for which we don't have an analog today, which means polar in terms of the sun, really long days, really long nights, depending on the season, but also temperate at the same time, with flowering plants, some that even look sort of tropical, and all these animals running around and swimming and flying. There's these Cretaceous geese that people have found that are, of course, fun dinosaurs. And they, in fact, one interesting thing about those is we mammals make a lot of our sounds with our lips and with our face, but birds don't, right? Because they have a hard shell beak most of the time. Most of the time, probably all the time, but biology. Let's not.
I've kissed some birds most of the time.
Birds have these very complicated larynxes that they use to make all their funny singing sounds, and this Cretaceous duck had it too, so probably sounded something like a duck or a goose.
That's cute.
Might have actually just looked straight up like a goose to us.
It sounds like a lovely place to get away, honestly.
Yeah. So yes, you're right. Antarctica had not yet separated and was not too cold anyway.
Yeah, I figured because I think pretty sure that there's oil in Antarctica. So, that oil comes from something.
Although it doesn't have to be dinosaurs.
It doesn't have to be dinosaurs, but
All right. Are there any further corrections you would like to make? There were 6 things that I pointed out as wrong, and we've currently discovered 3 of them.
Yes.
Although one of the corrections you guys gave covered both. So there's about 2 things left.
Yeah.
I would like to make a correction.
All right, Proteus. What do the brontosaurs have to say?
You said there were a couple of 100 species, and that's wrong. There were way, way more than that.
That is correct. That is a correct point out and a correct correction. Dinosaurs have always been, this is, again, I'm stealing from Wikipedia, dinosaurs have always been recognized as an extremely varied group. Over 900 non-avian dinosaur genera have been confidently identified, which was in 2018. And by 2016, there were 1,124 species confidently identified. Meaning, the real number is even way higher than that, right? Sure, because things don't fossilize and things get lost and so on and so forth. So, that is it. So there's one more major thing that I put in here.
Can you repeat that?
Yes, 2 eggs. 2 eggs for the 2 eggs for the brontosaurs. All right. There are a few hundred species of non-avian dinosaurs. After their rise to prominence in the Triassic, they represent about half of the large land animals of the Jurassic and Cretaceous, and can be found on every continent except Antarctica, which had already separated as its own continental mass by the time of the Triassic and was too cold anyway. The smallest dinosaurs were pony-sized animals, while the largest were approximately as long and as wide as a German bus, and weighed about 5 times as much as an African elephant.
So in the statement, you said they make up more than half.
I said they represent about half of the large land animals.
The large land animals. Okay.
Yeah, I take issue with that.
Sorry?
Yeah, I mean, I take issue with that.
You also have an issue. Yeah.
So I think we're both going for this.
Yeah, I think half is a very pessimistic estimate because at the time, I believe most of the large animals on land are dinosaurs, in fact.
And what do you say?
There were large mammals at the time to compete with them.
Yeah, I know that there were others. There were, for example, mammals, but they were small. So it's the large part mostly. I think that they were, the large ones were mostly dinosaurs.
Okay. Since you kind of said it together, I'm going to split the difference.
Right.
You get 1 egg. You get 1 egg. You are correct. The vast majority of large land animals were dinosaurs. Dinosaurs so completely ruled the quote-unquote niche of the land that basically anything more than a meter long was a dinosaur.
Yes.
Like anything of any significant height was basically a dinosaur the whole way through, as of the Jurassic and Cretaceous. In the Triassic, they're still competing with other things, mainly other big lizards that just technically aren't dinosaurs. But then by the Jurassic and the Cretaceous, basically all the land niches are filled with dinosauria.
Yes.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's this? It's time for the first clutch power-up. Okay, you're adapting to your environment, to the stresses of survival. The following one-time power-ups are awarded to each of the dinosaurs based on their success so far. So, how many eggs do the velociraptors have?
8.
8. How many eggs do the mosasaurs have? 5. And how many eggs do the brontosaurs have?
Also 5.
Also 5. Okay. So, to position number 1 to the velociraptors, you fittingly, well, not that fittingly, but, semi-fittingly, get the power-up bone-crushing bite. You've got crushing jaws, but will you bite off more than you can chew? After hearing a question, you can activate this power. If you answer correctly, you get double the eggs. But if you answer wrong, you lose all of your eggs.
Oh my god.
That's a fun thing to add.
Position 2 to the mosasaurs. So we know dinosaurs were all generally pretty big, right? And that meant they had big eyes. And big eyes means good eyesight. Irrelevant of your body size, right? So most dinosaurs had actually quite good eyesight and had color receptors probably that we did not have. Because mammals lost them, and reptiles can see cool stuff that we can't see. So you can use your big eyes and enhanced color vision to pick out clues. When you hear a question, use this ability to receive a private clue towards answering that one question. So I will text you a clue related to the question. And finally, brontosaurs. You receive, not so fittingly, a reinforced skull shield. You guys can see those pachycephalosaurs with the big bashing heads? Nothing beats your thick smashing skull. Smash a question you got wrong to lose no eggs and gain 1 egg instead. So when you get next time you get a question wrong, you can choose to ignore that you got it wrong, use your power up, and get 1 egg. Each of these is a single time use. Okay. So we've painted a little bit of a picture of dinosaurs. They existed on all continents. They filled all large land niches and many small land niches as well. They were not present in the sky, really, or in the sea until they were birds. They're descended from birds. We're starting to fill in the picture. They were around for an incredibly long time, incredibly successful for an incredibly long time. So let's go to part 2, Alone in the Wild. All right, both of these questions follow the question format single sorus. I will read a prompt and then ask each of you in turn to answer a question related to the prompt. If you answer correctly, you receive 2 eggs. But if you fail, you lose half your eggs, and the other competitors can try to answer. But when the other competitors try to answer, they face the same risks as you. So if they answer correctly, they get the 2 eggs, but if they answer falsely, they also lose half of their eggs. Make sense?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Are you going to ask us in turn?
Yes. So dinosaurs can be grouped into 3 major groups: sauropods, theropods, and ornithischians. Each of you will receive a question on these categories. Number 1, to the velociraptors. Translate the above terms into English.
Sauropods?
Theropod and ornithischian. Translate these 3 words into English.
Theropod?
Approximately.
Okay. Well, pod sounds like foot, from what I know. Like cephalopod or like to leg. Sauro should be lizard, because the Tyrannosaurus is the lizard tyrant. So I would say sauropods are like lizard-footed dinosaurs. Theropods are Terra is kind of Earth. It's not Tetra. That's different. So I would say like land or like Earth, like earth-footed or like flat-footed maybe. Land, basically, like instead of having those weird lizard that they had like more flat feet, kind of the way that we imagine a Tyrannosaurus foot to look like, even though I don't know if it's actually what it looks like. Finally, the ornithischians, well, that kind of sounds like they're bird or like bird adjacent, the most bird adjacent dinosaurs. So that's roughly how I would interpret these 3 names in English.
Okay. That's unfortunately incorrect, but close. So you lose half of your eggs. The velociraptors go from 8 down to 4. The 3 translations, you're right, sauropod means lizard foot, which is funny because they don't have very lizard-like feet, but because they probably had a gigantic fat pad like elephants do to help them walk because they were so big and heavy.
That's true.
But, in a fossil record, they do look like they have lizardy feet. So, hey. Theropods, pod does mean foot again. Thero means beast. They are beast-footed, kind of a vague term. And then ornithischians, orna does mean bird, but thisia actually is the hip. So ornithischians are the bird-hipped dinosaurs. And that is because they have a hip that looks kind of like a bird's hip.
No, I'm down to 4.
Okay. Question number 2 for the mosasaurs.
Wait, to be fair, you didn't give anyone the chance to steal. So maybe keep that in mind next time.
Oh, you're right. I did forget that. Bad host.
Yeah, because other people could have tried to answer that and gain the points instead.
Okay.
Just say.
Right.
Which of the 2 groups are currently believed to be the most likely to be closer related? This is a little bit of a vague question because we're not sure from a paleontological standpoint which of the groups are the 2 most closely related. But there is sort of a 55%, 45% consensus at the moment.
Okay.
So which of the 2 groups are closer related? Ornithischia and theropods and sauropods, or whatever the last combination is?
Yes. Okay. I do not know about this, so I can only make a guess.
Mm-hmm.
So logically, I would like to think the sauropods and ornopods.
Ornithischians?
Ornithischians.
Mm-hmm.
These 2 could be more closely related.
That is unfortunately incorrect.
Oh no!
I have a feeling this question is not going to go well for everyone. I'm reconsidering some elements of this question.
This entire round feels like a little bit too specific.
Theropod, yeah, no, that's what I meant. Sorry. Theropod and sauropod are currently considered to be more likely.
Wait, you didn't give anyone the chance to steal again.
Excuse me?
Theropod and sauropod are considered to be more closely likely to be more closely related.
Can you leave this guy?
So theropods and sauropods.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. So basically the early theropods and the early sauropods, they all kind of look kind of similar in that they have sort of longer-ish necks. They're kind of spindly. They're bipeds, and they have sort of a long tail. And the idea is one of them, over time becomes more and more velociraptor-like, sort of a little bit of a shortening of the neck sometimes and maintaining the bipedal posture. And then the other one sort of became a quadruped, and the long tail and long neck eventually became those classic sort of sauropod, diplodocus-looking, kind of brachiosaurus-looking sort of morphology. But this is an area of the science that's very unclear. All right. Which of these groups are birds descended from? Proteus.
This is a difficult question for me because I have no idea. I'm just going off vibes.
I think everyone else was also doing that, to be fair.
I'm going to say ornithischians because they're called bird-hipped.
That is incorrect.
Chance to steal.
I don't think they get a chance to steal because I didn't get a chance to steal in either one of their questions. Yeah. If you ruined it with their questions, you don't get to do it right now.
We'll do steals on the next question. The next question is also a single sword question.
Okay, can I still try to answer
it?
I'm not going to.
For no points, you can attempt to answer.
Is it theropods?
Sauropods.
I'm going to say. Okay, well, I waited and asked. I am going to say sauropods.
Okay, you're both wrong, and you're right. It is theropods.
Interesting.
So the theropods are the velociraptor.
Oh, those. Oh, then I mixed them up.
The velociraptor, the T-Rexy ones, the.
I mixed them up. I meant those.
And there's a certain group of theropods, actually like very close to the velociraptor lineage, that start to gain more and more feathers. Maybe they're using them for climbing, gliding, redirecting while they run, because ostriches use sort of feathers to sort of steer as they run. Maybe they're doing something, we don't know, but eventually somewhere from there we get to Archaeopteryx, who we're pretty sure could fly, and that's on the route, that's sort of on the rough trajectory to birds. I don't know if Archaeopteryx, I think it's not quite clear if Archaeopteryx is like a cousin of the dinosaur that ended up becoming birds, you know what I mean? Or if Archaeopteryx is the cousin who ended up becoming a bird at some point, their descendants, I'm not sure. I will hazard a guess. But yes, okay. So those are our groups a little bit. We have we have sauropods, we have ornithischia. Yes.
So I lose half my eggs, so I have 2 eggs now.
How many eggs did
5.
Yes. No, you always round up. So you go down to 3.
Okay, yeah. I have the same.
Yes. Okay. The second question,
Gosh, diggly darn it.
which now as a quiz designer, I'm thinking this question should have been perhaps first of the two. Again, a single SOAR question. I will read a prompt, ask each of you in turn to answer a question related to it. If you answer correctly, you get 2 eggs. If you fail, the standard penalty, and there is an opportunity to steal. Okay.
This one is for me again? Like, are we rotating back to me?
Yes. And how many eggs do you have?
4.
4, 3, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, neck and neck. All right. So, what do these 3 groups of dinosaurs tend to look like? To help make ourselves a picture, we're going to take a list of classic dinosaurs. Ankylosaurus, Brachiosaurus, Diplodocus, Iguanodon, Megalosaurus, Stegosaurus, T-Rex, Triceratops, and Velociraptor.
I
Wait,
already
what?
forgot the names.
Those are a list of classic
Yeah.
dinosaurs.
Right.
Would you like to maybe write them down and put them out?
I'll
for us
read them
look
out to
at?
you guys over and over again,
Okay.
as many times as I need to.
Okay, let me write it down
Okay.
myself.
First, the Velociraptors. Name 2 of the above that are ornithicia.
2 of the above that are?
Ornithicia.
Okay. I'm gonna say,
Mhm.
I feel a bit of disadvantage because you gave clear examples for the other 2 groups earlier, but you didn't give a clear example for the ornithischian.
Shut up, you're in first place.
No.
Wait, can I get...
By 1 egg! The laws of rounding have fucked me over this.
Almost
Did I-
by design.
Can I steal but use my private
Wait. Give Theia a chance to answer. He can still answer correctly.
Doesn't help that I don't know some of this.
If you want, you can ask me. Let's say you can ask me 1. You can ask me for 1, and I will describe what it looks like to you.
Yeah, the first Ankylosaurus.
Okay, an Ankylosaurus is kind of like an angry coffee table. It has the dimensions of a coffee table.
Oh, I
It
know
is
it's
covered
red.
in armor. It has a large tail club and usually rows
Oh,
of spikes that go across its back or bumps.
I love
Yeah,
the
I love
description
this
of angry coffee table.
Yeah, they're kind of shin breakers of the
It's
dino
sort of
world.
an angry treasure chest, but yeah.
Oh, I think I know which class they belong to. But only this one for
So
now.
bird-hipped, but doesn't mean that they actually look like birds, because the ones that are close are actually like the others.
Yes.
What does
If
the
you
hip-
want to know actually about that, that is a strange process where the ornithicia have these very bird-looking hips. And at first, the theropods in the early theropod lineage have these very not bird-looking like hips.
So
But
they
by
thought-
the end of the theropod lineage, they do have bird-looking like hips because that's where the bird hips actually came from.
Yeah.
And it's simply unfortunate that the ornithicia were named at a time when it wasn't known.
So the ornithicia don't look anything like birds. They just have this hip. which
Yeah,
you
they
can't
just have
see.
this hip. They just have this hip that
Hmm.
I'm not an anatomist, but like apparently it pokes forward somehow instead of poking backward or something.
Okay.
There's like a specific bone that
Okay.
like.
a butt
Okay.
that pokes forward?
Well, no, they just have like there's just some bone in their hip that pokes
Okay.
forward instead of poking back. And in most
Ah.
animals it pokes back, but in birds it pokes forward. So they called them the bird hip ones because they had the hips kind of like the birds. But they're not actually
Yeah.
they're not the bird group. They're not the group that
Yeah.
ended up becoming
Mm.
birds. So
But they could still have a long tail. It doesn't mean their butts
absolutely.
look like...
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go Ankylosaurus and Stegosaurus.
That is correct.
Oh,
Both
wow.
Ankylosaurs
Good
and
job.
Stegosaurs are ornithicia. So Stegosaurs are the ones with the plates and spikes and whatnot, and Ankylosaurs are the angry coffee tables. All right.
They are... Oh, wow, that is interesting. Yeah.
Up next, Copernicus,
Yes.
the Mosasaurus.
The most-
Name
yes.
2 of the above
Mhm.
that are theropods.
Theropods. Okay, can I use my private clue for this question?
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much. Look
Don't-
the
don't-
other way.
I'm looking the other way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna chance to steal this one so hard if you get it wrong.
It's okay.
That is your clue.
Oh, yeah. Biped. Sorry.
I guess. No stealing.
Oh, la la.
No, too late. No, they
No
they
stealing.
forfeited their clue.
No
No, I'm stealing.
stealing.
I'm stealing.
No
No
stealing.
stealing.
I mean, this is so easy now.
No stealing.
Shh. Velociraptors,
Okay.
hold
yeah.
your tongues.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I should hold my
Private
tongue.
clue.
I should hold my.
I can hold yours.
This one should hold my
Ah.
tongue.
All right, Copernicus,
Okay.
give us
Where?
Give us your guess.
Okay, so first T-Rex.
Mm-hmm. And what's your second guess?
Okay, second guess is a little bit tricky because I am not really sure what the others look like. And
I feel like there must be at least one.
At least one.
Okay, yeah. So
just take the clues from the room. Look at who's sitting next to you and vibrating.
Vibrating, yes. I know, but like I know raptors overall walk on their hind legs.
Okay, so what is your second guess?
Raptors. But there are two other raptors.
Mm-hmm. You only need to identify. Look, there's more than 6, right, in the list.
Right.
You just need to pick 2 and tell me.
Yes. So,
Just one
yes. I know raptors for sure walk on their hind legs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go for Velociraptor.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So your guess is T-Rex and Velociraptor.
Yes.
Okay. So your clue was that theropods are bipeds.
Exactly.
And that's like true for like all of the ones I know. Maybe there's like one that isn't. But yes. So both Velociraptor and T-Rex are theropods.
Yay. Oh, no.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes,
you're right.
that's correct.
So you get your 2 eggs, and
Okay,
there's no
thank
opportunity to steal.
Okay.
So
awesome.
theropods are the ones that kind of they're almost always carnivores. They have the small forearms often, or not fully developed forearms. At least they don't walk on them, and they have these biting maws and long tails. And a lot of famous dinosaurs are theropods because they're the scary ones. Often
they are the carnivores.
And Alvarezsaur, the little tiny cute one from earlier, is also a theropod. He's a teeny tiny little biped.
Yeah, I remember.
They're very,
that
very cute.
One.
Alrighty. So, finally, Proteus, brontosaurs. Can you name 2 of my list that are sauropods?
Yeah, the Brachiosaurus.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is I don't know what they look like, so I might have to ask you.
Okay, you can ask me what one of them looks like.
One of them looks like.
Yeah, you can ask me one of them. I will give you a free description of, as I did for the others.
What does a megalosaurus look like?
A megalosaurus is a large carnivorous biped, smaller than a T-Rex, with a I think they have like little interesting horns above their eyes.
Oh, yes.
So I'm gonna go with the Brachiosaurus and the Iguanodon as the sauropods.
Unfortunately, iguanodons are ornithischians.
No!
All right.
Sorry, what did you say?
So
what did you reply?
That is incorrect. If you guys want to steal,
No, you said which one was the wrong one?
Iguanodons
Iguanodon was the wrong
are
one.
not sauropods.
Okay, so you said Brachiosaurus and Iguanodon.
So unfortunately, you lose half of your eggs.
So now I have
Where are you at? How many?
3, so I have 2.
Okay.
Can I try to redeem myself?
That's not really how steal works. Steal
Okay.
is
but
the
you
other.
have your consumable item.
Yeah,
No.
you can refuse to lose the eggs.
No, I will have to wait until late in the game, otherwise it will not make sense.
Well, don't wait too
No.
late until the game. There's sort of, as of the 3rd quarter of the game, you guys are getting other power ups. So use them. So if you want to use
Consumables
it,
are not meant to be hoarded.
yeah. So if you want to use it, use it.
Like your
Okay,
meds.
then I'll use it now.
All right. So you smash that stupid question, and you go from 3 to 4 eggs. Right?
Yes.
You get 1 egg. All right.
Can I just as a freebie
Yes.
give
you
a
can.
second answer?
Yes.
See if it's right.
Yes.
Brachiosaurus and Triceratops.
No.
No,
Unfortunately, no.
what the hell is a Triceratops?
It's,
We'll
no.
get there. So this is a friendly steal, right? The question was not actually answered wrong. The question was smashed with a smashing skull. So you guys can answer for no eggs and no risk. You friendly
eggs
answer.
and
You
no-
guys can guess what the
Oh,
sauropods are off the
okay.
list. Okay.
Yes. So
So we know Brachiosaurus. So can any of you name me
Brachiosaurus.
another sauropod? I mean, is it fun? We can also just move on.
I mean, is there gonna be are we keep going? Are we circling back to me, or is this round done?
So
This round is done.
it has to be the Diplodocus,
Friendly.
right?
I'm gonna say
By-
Diplodocus.
Yeah,
It is,
Diplodocus.
yes, Diplodocus.
Mainly
Dippy.
because you mentioned it earlier
Yeah.
as an example for this group.
Oh, frick. Oh,
So
frick.
Diplodocus is a very famous sauropod. There's Dippy, the Diplodocus from the Carnegie Museum in the U.S. There's a copy of it in the
Did you
London
just
Natural
say
History Museum.
Carnegie, not Carnegie?
Carnegie.
This is not Carnegie?
No, Carnegie is the guy's name. He's an American.
Oh.
it's not Carnegie.
he was like an Elon Musk of his time, and he loved dinosaurs. So that's why there's so many Carnegii related like things, like
Diplodocus. Really insulting this guy.
Diplodocus carnegii. He did a whole bunch of digging in the Morrison formation, which is in like I think it's like, God help me, Utah, Colorado, somewhere around there in the U.S. A big geological formation where we have no soft tissues, none of the like really cool stuff that you get out of China, but still like lots of good, well-preserved bones.
Is it Triceratops and Ornithischian?
Yes. So let's talk about the three groups just a little bit. So theropods are the two-legged ones, often carnivores, not always, that have the sharp mouths and the sort of the hanging teeth, the hanging arms, that often aren't so useful, especially. They get quite big, but they don't get as big as the other ones, really. I mean, okay, T-Rex is an absolute giant, but in general, the sauropods are the biggest. Those are the really long-necked, long-tailed ones. Diplodocus, notable for its tail, is so freaking long that it might have been able to crack it at the speed of sound to make bullwhip cracks. Like when you do a whip, they crack because you're breaking the sound barrier with them. They could have done that with their tail potentially, maybe as a form of communication. Maybe they thought it was sexy, maybe both. Probably they didn't hit things with it, but yeah, because like a whip is not the best weapon in the world, but anyways. So those are kind of what the sauropods look
would like you to believe.
Yes. And the Ornithischia are kind of the miscellaneous category of everything that vaguely looks like an iguanodon. So an iguanodon, I don't know if you guys watched that, I think Pixar movie, Dinosaur, the one.
It's the 3D one called Dinosaur.
Yeah.
It's not Pixar. It's so ugly.
Okay.
It's the first attempt of Disney animation at 3D.
I thought it was I liked it a lot as a kid.
Anyways, me too, but
they're the ones
for other reasons.
They're the ones that have like a thumb spike.
Yeah.
They're the ones that have like the spike on the front hoof, basically, and have kind of these flattish sort of duck bill, like there's like they're like in the group of like hadrosaurs and stuff like that. Like this is kind of getting specific, but and there's like these duck-billed hadrosaurs, like the ones with the horn on the back of the head, right? Yeah. But Triceratops are also in this group, and Ankylosaurs are. So it's kind of like random bipeds. Random quadrupeds that aren't in the other two groups. That's kind of how I, in my head, imagine Ornithischia. Yeah. So that's why Stegosaurus fits into, because Stegosaurus is kind of just an iguanodon, but with the plates and spikes. That's why Ankylosaur is in there, because they're bipeds and they're not, gigantic. They're quadrupeds and not gigantic, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the main three.
And I got that question as the hardest one, because you hate me.
Yeah, it's almost like the quiz is designed to systematically be hardest on the person who's ahead, so that other people have a chance to get ahead. It's almost like game design.
This Mario Kart logic is bullshit.
What's this? It's time for the halfway relay. Times are good in the Mesozoic. It's time for dinos to get nice and fat, munching on abundant resources. Who needs all that scientific rigor anyway? Let's just have some fun. Answer the following fun questions by texting in your responses to me, and whichever one I personally find most humorous will receive an egg.
Ooh, nice.
Question number 1. Why did sauropods have long necks? Wrong answers only.
Oh.
You have received my answer.
All right. From the Brontosaurus, we have received a response. To better peek over their neighbor's fence. What are they doing over there? I like that a lot. Come on, send me answers. Or blurt them out.
Okay, I just sent it.
Alrighty. And from the Velociraptors, we have received the response. To wear lots of chokers all at once. Very fashionable.
Oh, wow.
And from the Mosasaurus, they always try to look over others' shoulders to peep on what they're doing on their phones. I like that too, but it's going to go to the fence question. All right. Brontosaurus, you get 1 egg. What are we all at for eggs right now?
I just received 1 egg to make it 5 eggs.
5 eggs?
6 eggs.
I'm also 5 at the moment.
5, 6, and 5. All right, neck and neck. What is the coolest dinosaur? Text me your responses.
Is this humor-based or...
Yes.
Oh,
whatever I find most entertaining.
Don't read mine out yet.
Can we make up dinosaur names, or it has to be real?
Sure, but you have to describe to me what it looks like, at least, for it to be cool.
Okay, the coolest ones, yeah. Cool. Oh no, this is not very humorous. This is just sad.
15, 14.
Those two things
13,
sometimes overlap.
12, 11, 10, 9. Alrighty. We have answers. From the Velociraptors, we have the Brontosaurus, because you are dating him.
That is inside information.
Very true, very true. But perhaps that might even make the Brontosaurus's question response even, rated higher. The dead ones found under glaciers. Okay, yes, the Mosasaurus. And lastly, a Frisiasaurus, which is glistening blue, almost square, a quadruped with short legs, necks, and tail. It's almost... A Frisiasaurus, which is a made-up dinosaur that is glistening blue, almost square, a quadruped with short legs, neck, and tail. So it's like an ice cube. It's like an ice cube.
Yeah.
Frisiasaurs win.
No.
Yes. All right. So 6, 6, and 5 currently.
Yes.
Give me a cool dino fact that may or may not be true.
Okay. Let me think. A fun fact. Yeah.
A fun fact, not a fun fact.
Now.
You have received my response.
I haven't received his response.
It's a thing.
I don't think I win this one.
All right. From Proteus, did you know that dinos are the originators of the dynamo? Little whirring lizards with lights on their heads.
It's cute.
I'm not sure that one's true. From the Mosasaurs, fun fact, dinosaurs grew feathers just to look good for their mates in the first place. Interesting.
It's actually true.
I think that is just actually true, yeah. I don't think we know, but it could very well be true. It's
Very
plausible.
reliable speculation.
And for the Velociraptors, dinosaurs believed in astrology, but the stars were different back then, so their star signs make no sense today.
Oh, that's cute.
I like
That's a good
that.
one,
Astrology is fake and has drifted. I'm going to give it to the dinosaur astrology.
Hey, I was sure I wouldn't be
It's
getting
cute,
this one.
yeah.
All right, number 4. Response in 30 seconds or less. Name this episode.
Name this episode.
Yes. Give me the best episode name
Okay.
for this episode that you can come up with. It's so funny, you normally never look at your phone and see like 3 friends typing at the same time. Okay, from the Mosasaurs we have the best ever dino quiz. There's actually a very popular food documentary YouTube channel called The Best Ever Food Review, and it's very successful. So just steal their concept. We have the sauropod. It'll make sense by round 3. Yeah, that makes sense. That's from the Velociraptors. And finally we have Dying to Know More, a dino quiz for curious lizards.
Oh, it's cute. Yeah.
I mean, that's so incredibly cute, but I don't think it's a great title. So unfortunately, I think the sauropod is going to win that round. Finally, the last challenge. Don't text, dinos, don't text. No need to. Make your best dinosaur noise.
Nice.
All right, that is the Brontosaur noise. I like it. I like
And
it.
the Sheeposaurus.
All right. Dan, come on then. Give us your best dinosaur noise. Okay, very aggressive.
I went from the deep throat here because no beak.
No beak. All right, and Copernicus, give us your best dinosaur noise. I didn't hear it.
It's
It was ultrasound.
I think the Sheeposaurus takes it home. Brontosaurus, you get 1 more bonus point.
You get
Brontosaurus.
Oh.
yeah.
I thought there was a bonus point.
But dinos. While we were having all this fun, we forgot to stockpile for winter. I guess times are hard again. We better get back to it. Scientific rigor is back. Let's go for part 3, the hatchening. All right. Our final version, question 6, final version of the close enough format. I will ask you to estimate a figure. You will text me your guess. The closest guess will receive 3 eggs, then 2 eggs for second place, and 1 egg for last place. Nobody will lose any eggs. Your prompt, the figure you're trying to estimate is, how heavy is the egg of the sauropod Diplodocus? Estimated. So there's a sauropod diplodocus fossil, and from that fossil, or fossil of the egg, and from that fossil egg, people have estimated its weight. Roughly, where's that estimate? In kg, please. Now that's imperial bullshit.
In pounds and stones.
No. In metric.
In diplodocus eggs, 1.
Scientific rigor.
Couldn't be more.
The most accurate measurement.
Accurate answer. You need to be smart.
You have received my answer.
I have. I received the Brontosaurus answer. Okay. Fellow dinos, get your answers in quick before winter comes and disaster strikes. All right, the answers we received from the Velociraptors, 20 kg, from the Brontosaurs, 12 kg, and from the Mosasaurs, 5 kg. Ironic that the one species that gave live birth between the three was the most accurate about the egg dimensions. Mosasaurs, they did marine reptiles, they did live birth.
That's true, yeah, exactly.
So, sauropod eggs were teeny tiny.
No.
Because there is a maximum to how big an egg can be.
Exactly.
And so there's a maximum how big an egg can be because the air needs to go from the outside of the egg through the pores and saturate the developing embryo inside. And for it to grow and become stronger and get all the nutrients it needs, the egg, there's a maximum size. In fact, there's some eggs that cheat and sort of become oblong so that they can have a larger surface area for oxygen to go through without having as much. But, there's only so oblong your baby can be at some point. Eventually your baby is spaghetti and so it doesn't work, right? So there's a maximum size to dinosaur eggs. And dinosaur eggs were probably leathery and soft shell and not hard shell as well,
like
which is an interesting factoid. There is this study, which was led by Professor Graham Ruxton at the University of St. Andrews, and they say the sauropod eggs ended up so small because they took such a long time to incubate, But anyways, they say 1.5 kg. Despite the vast size of sauropods estimated to measure up to 33 meters and weigh up to 16 tons, their eggs only weighed around 1.5 kg.
Ostrich eggs weigh more than that.
Yes,
I was expecting.
They remark on that in this article that the scientists talk about how the ostrich eggs are slightly larger than the sauropod.
That's why I went for 12 because I thought an ostrich egg can be up to
went for
3 kilograms.
So it's not that the eggs are really so small in an absolute sense, just relatively to the size of how truly massive sauropods were. Yeah. Their eggs were very tiny, which you guys have to just imagine how cute baby sauropods were when they came out of those things. All right,
tiny,
these little walking around, eating ferns,
babies.
And that's one of the
for the huge parents.
Yes, with gigantic parents, right? And that's one of the interesting things about dinosaurs. Because of that, they have a unique environmental dynamic where the young fill a lot of the ecological. These days, when a baby elephant is born, it fills. It's not as big, obviously, as the parent, but it's much closer to the size of the parent, and so it doesn't fill a fully different ecological niche. But the ecological niche of a 50-ton paralititan versus a, let's say, 12-kilo infant, or even a 1-ton infant, right?
Yeah.
Because they grow incredibly quickly, but that's still infant size for them, right? Is a completely different ecological niche, which is why a lot of the sauropods, once they got beyond a certain level, were beyond predation. And people think the sauropods had lots and lots and lots and lots of babies, and only the very rarest of them actually got to that big maximum titan size.
This is an interesting way of finding out that these diplodocus, they basically have the same life cycle of dragons in Dungeons and Dragons, where they can just become these ancient titans from these cute little wormlings.
Yes. So a lot like alligators today, dinosaurs probably never really stopped growing. They probably had sort of a sigmoid growth curve, but they probably never really stopped growing the way mammals and birds do today, right? Like birds, they tend to really quickly, they reach a maximum size and then they're done, right? They don't get any bigger. And dinosaurs, they seems like they probably grew forever, which makes it actually very difficult sometimes to estimate certain things. Like if you're looking for a sexual dimorphism, it's well, is this a male or female, or is one older, one younger, or something like that. So, but yeah, so that's interesting things about how dinosaurs grow and how they reproduce. So 3 eggs go to the mosasaurs, 2 eggs to the brontosaurs, 1 egg to the velociraptors.
I'm at 9.
Now,
I'm also at 9.
Spot.
You?
I'm at 8. Actually.
Okay, so
almost at 9.
Yeah.
9, 9, and 8. All right, it's 9 for the brontosaurs, 9 for the velociraptors, 8 for the mosasaurs. All right, question number 7. Spot the stinker. I will read a statement for you. I will call on you in order to point out something wrong with the statement. For each mistake spotted, you get 2 eggs plus a bonus egg if you can tell me what the correct phrasing would be.
What's the number of errors this time that you count?
Just in a second. A wrong answer or a wrong correction loses you half your eggs. Each of you must answer at least once. All right, I have 5 things marked here as incorrect. For this question, I took an old reconstruction of Stegosaurus and like an image. Somebody drew a Stegosaurus for a scientific illustration long time ago. And I sort of describe it while weaving in some general dinosaur reconstruction misconceptions as well that aren't necessarily in that one reconstruction, but also that are just common. All right, this is your statement. Stegosaurus is a large-scaled bipedal herbivore with a short neck and a dragging tail. It is decorated by multiple rows of large back spines and a single row of tail plates, which stand out from the monochrome tank green skin that clings tightly to the bones of its body. It has no further interesting features.
It's too fast.
Tankeray skin, as in
Tank green.
Tank green.
Like a combat tank,
yeah.
that color that they have. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's the color of the skin.
Can you repeat the sentence slowly?
Yes.
Yeah.
The whole thing?
Yes.
Stegosaurus is a large, scaled, bipedal herbivore with a short neck and a dragging tail. It is decorated by multiple rows of large back spikes and a single row of tail plates, which stand out from the monochrome tank green skin that clings tightly to the bones of its body. It has no further interesting features.
Okay.
The egg score currently is 998.
Yeah.
Then Mosasaurus, you are first to have the opportunity to point out an error. And I have about 5 errors. But again, it always, kind of depends on how you split things. Sometimes you guys correct 2 things at once. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. So I would say I don't think it's I don't think it's a bipedal if the rest of the statement is correct.
Okay. And so do you want to give what you think it actually was instead? Do you want to offer a correction as well?
Yes. So I think it would be a tetrapedal dinosaur instead of bipedal.
Yes. That is correct. That is a correct point out and a correct correction. Stegosaurs are believed to have been quadrupeds and not bipeds. But it is funny that when they were first dug out, people thought they were biped and drew them walking around kind of like Godzilla.
It's pretty silly.
So that is 3 eggs for the Mosasaurus.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Now you both have 9.
Do you want to go rock, paper, scissors?
No, I'm going to pick on Proteus.
Okay, so I get to go next?
Yes. Brontosaurus, tell me what else is wrong about this statement.
It's absolutely not true that their skin clung tightly to their bones. A lot of dinosaur reconstructions that we see in books today are complete nonsense because they completely ignored the fact they're soft tissues covering the bones, muscles, fat, the likes, and then potentially whatever else there might be that might fluff up the dinosaur. So actually dinosaurs are a lot chunkier than the bones that we have found because all that soft tissue wasn't preserved.
That is correct. That's a correct point out and a correct correction. Dinosaurs, there's been a trend roughly since Jurassic Park. That trend is probably over now at this point. And I wouldn't say like a lot of the ones we see today, maybe the new ones, the modern ones, let's not throw shade at all of them. But anyways, yes, you're right. There was for a long time a trend of shrink wrapping the dinosaur skeleton in the skin, where you could see the ribs coming through. You could see all these elements of the skull. The eyes would often be too far back in the skull instead of being out of the skull because people kind of want to show that they're using the right skeleton. They want to show the skeletal features that they've come to know as they're drawing it. And also, sometimes it's hard to imagine that things are often have fat, have muscle, have other soft tissues, just like anything. Like if you shrink wrap a hippopotamus skull, they don't look at all like a hippopotamus.
Exactly.
Even if you shrink wrap a cat skull, they look nothing like a cat.
Or a bear.
Yeah.
I saw very fun. I think it was a drawing in a post that showed the way that a penguin skeleton looks like.
Yeah.
And then they showed basically if you apply the same logic to brontosauruses, and then you have these like very chunky guys, like these big thick necks with these cute little heads at the top, tiny heads because the skull is still small.
Yeah.
But like basically penguin. Okay.
Perfect. Velociraptors. Do you have a correction for me?
So if I'm correct, you never mentioned their spikes, the spikes on their tails, only on their back.
Yeah, I said that they had back spikes and a single row of tail plates.
Back spikes? Describe, like, what when you mean?
Large spikes that go along their back.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure that that's incorrect. They have the plates, but not spikes. Like from what I imagine to be a spike. That's what they have. Their spikes are located on their tail. And for this, I want to use my power-up bite.
Okay.
Because I'm offering a correction of like 4 points for this if it's correct.
All right. So you are correct, and you can use your power-up on this. So you're the only one who hasn't used their power-up yet. No, you have. All of you have used your power. Oh, perfect. Beautiful. You all used your consumables. Great job. Yes, you're correct. So when they first found stegosaurs, they put the plates on the tail and the spikes from the tail on the back. So they thought they had these back spikes and these tail plates. But you are, of course, correct. Stegosaur has 2 rows of back plates that are slightly offset off of each other, making them look kind of like one overlapping row. And then they have 4 tail spikes.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right. So,
I have another correction I would like to make.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
You said that they're scaled.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not true.
Okay.
We don't know exactly what they had.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, we're still making discoveries about what actually covered the skin of different kinds of dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
But what we consider scales, as in like lizards or snakes, that is most likely not what all of them were walking around with.
Okay. I'm going to not give you a point for that, nor am I going to deduct points from that, because it's kind of true and it's kind of false. So there's not a lot of soft tissue preservation for Stegosaurus, as far as I know.
Yes.
So we don't. You're right. We don't really know, but almost all dinosaurs were scaled, right? I think basically all dinosaurs were scaled. They had scales. The question was, did they have scales and feathers, right, over top?
Well, it depends on like the time frame that we're talking about. If we're talking about,
so I don't know enough about this to really fully mark your statement as wrong, but your statement isn't fully. I also am not confident in marking it as correct. So we're going to leave that at 0, and we're going to say that what technically is a scale, what technically is a fiber, what technically is a feather, and if you could say a creature is scaled if they have other stuff on top. We're going to leave that to the side for now and blame my ignorance. Okay.
Okay.
But if you have further corrections you would like to make...
Do you have anything?
I can also reread the statement if you would like.
Because now we have found 3 mistakes already.
Yeah, but there are more mistakes still present.
There are 2 more, yeah. Okay.
Approximately 2 more, yeah.
2 more, yes. So when you say, just a question, when you said they are short-necked, they've got short necks.
Yes.
Where would you consider short?
Dogs have a short neck.
Okay. Yeah.
Alligators have a short neck.
Right.
Giraffes don't.
Brontosaurus have a long neck.
Brontosaurus have a long neck.
Yeah.
What has a long neck? Ostriches have a long neck.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
I get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
a zebra has like a medium length neck.
Right.
So,
I see. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. They for sure have the short neck. Yeah. And then you mentioned they are monochrome green.
Yes, that's already been... Wait, no, that wasn't. You talked about it, but you didn't. Yes.
But actually, we have no idea about the color of their skin, as Proteus already mentioned.
Okay. Is that? Are you answering a question?
I'm posting a point.
Sounds like it.
Are you trying to point out something that's wrong? And if so, are you trying to correct it?
Okay, I'm gonna point out that we wouldn't be able to know about their skin color. And there are no samples for us to predict how their skins would react with light and then reflect which type of light.
So it sounds like you're pointing out and
exactly.
correcting.
So I would just say that's something.
That is correct. That is 3 eggs to you. We don't know what colors.
3?
Yeah, it's 2 for the point out, 1 for the correction.
Yeah.
The number of eggs goes up as the quiz goes on. So now it's 2 if you point it out correctly, and 1 extra one for the correction.
6 eggs from the doubling up, not 4. Cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. So, yes, we don't know what color Stegosaurus was because we don't have skin of it preserved, at least as far as I know. But we do have the skin preserved of some other dinosaurs, and they weren't all green, right?
Wait, we have skin preserved.
Yeah. There's skin, and there's a lot of actually really interesting soft tissue preservation of dinosaurs out of China, for example. And you can look at the skin, and the skin has cells in it that produce pigment, and we see its evolutionary conserve. The shape of the cell corresponds to the color of the pigment. And therefore, you can look at the shape of the cells in the skin and you can tell what color they would have had. So we know, for example, that velociraptors were probably this dark black, iridescent, like feathery color, kind of like a mallard maybe, but a little darker.
That's insane.
Yeah, so we know some hints about colors of certain dinosaurs, and they weren't all Jurassic Park tank green. Some of them had other colors as well. And so, yeah, we don't know, but Stegosaurus could have been striped. They could have been, they could have had other patterns on them. They might have had big patterns on their plates, to make them look like eyes, like on a peacock or maybe something else. So, yes, they were not necessarily monochrome tank green.
So there's one more thing to correct.
I have one here that you guys haven't mentioned. Then...
So I would like to... I'm not going to make any statements because I don't know how many different types of tails positions there are. But I'm going to say that the dragon tail seems to me like the last thing that is wrong.
Yeah, there's about 3 things here.
Three more things?
There's about 3 things left.
Can you reread everything then?
Yeah. Stegosaur is a large-scaled bipedal herbivore with a short neck and dragging tail. It is decorated by multiple rows of large back spikes and a single row of tail plates, which stand out from the monochrome green tank green skin that clings tightly to the bones of its body. It has no further interesting features.
It has no further interesting features.
That's the thing. When I talked about the tail spikes, I thought I was also correcting there's no further interesting features, but if maybe that's still... I don't know if there's still some interesting features, but I'm going to I'm going to point out the dragon tail.
Okay. And do you want to correct it?
I mean, how much of a correction are we talking about? Like, dragon tail is the opposite of the tail.
Tell me what you think the correct phrase would have been. That would be a correction. If you're attempting a correction, right? And it's more risky because if you tell me what the correct phrase is and I think, no, that's not really the correct way to say it, then, no points, bad stuff.
Yeah, I am doing pretty well point-wise. I think I know what the correction is, but honestly, I'm not going to attempt it for one more point if I get too...
Okay, so you're pointing out the tail.
I'm pointing out the tail? I'm not correcting.
That is correct. The tail of Stegosaurus, so you get 2 points for that. The tail of Stegosaurus was not dragon. The tail of Stegosaurus was upright. They're not like lizards or something. Most dinosaurs had upright tails. And some people, I think it's also a recent thing, but maybe not, to reconstruct the Stegosaurus tail with the back part of the tail slightly dipping down with the spikes. So they kind of have like an upright tail. And
so what would it be? So sorry, what would that be the correct phrasing be?
They have an upright tail.
Upright tail.
They have an upright tail.
I would have said something like standing or like...
Yeah.
But I don't know if you would have counted it.
I think I would have counted that, yes.
Okay, anyway, okay.
All right, any further corrections?
Are there more?
Yeah, there's about 2-ish things, 1.5 things.
Okay, 1.5. So, yeah, were they really herbivores? This is something...
Is that what you're pointing out?
From what I remember, I do remember they are herbivores. So,
all right. You don't have to wager guesses. Yeah. If you feel like you're done, you're done. Do the Brontosaurs have anything more they'd like to point out or add?
No, I'm just confused about what else is going on.
I mean, there's still the herbivore thing, and they have no further interesting features.
Yeah, exactly. I have those 2 noted down. I are they omnivores? What other interesting features could they have? I don't know.
I mean, some animals
you don't have to point out if you think that no more interesting features. If the Brontosaurs think that no more interesting features is an area that has an error in it, right? You can just point that out. You don't have to say what you think the interesting feature would be. You can just say, I think that part of it's wrong.
Okay, I think that.
Do you want to?
Yeah.
Copernicus went first.
No, you just described it. You just said, I think there's no more interesting features. I think that's wrong. So do you want to point that out or not?
I want to point it out.
Okay. It is correct. They probably had other interesting features. This also ties to your point earlier. We don't know what soft tissue features they had. They could have had wattles. They could have had big chipmunk teeth, chipmunk cheeks. They could have had weird chameleon skin. They could have had what else? Is that right? They could have had filaments. They could have had combs. They could have had weird fleshy bumps on them, maybe even feathers.
Big elephant ears.
Yeah, they could have had all sorts of strange things like that we don't know about. Obviously, there's certain things that give us estimations and guesses, but just saying flat out they have no other interesting features is wrong. And actually, an interesting thing that was recently discovered for Stegosaurus which was not known for a long time and was also not in this representation. So I'm saying there are lots of things we could speculate about, but there's a specific one actually that is also left out. Stegosaurus, they had like a neck armor. They had these sort of hard bumps that went all over their neck in an interesting way and give us an indication of actually what the sort of 3D shape of the neck might have roughly been without just, the spine. So So yes, that's one more. I would say there is one more in here that I intentionally put in as incorrect that you could correct. But we can also move on. I can reveal what the last point is, and we can move on our way.
Okay, I'm gonna risk it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they are not entirely herbivores.
Unfortunately, that is incorrect in the sense that they're as herbivorous, we think, as anything else that's herbivorous. It's like a deer will sometimes eat meat if it finds it, if it's convenient, right?
Right.
But it's still an herbivore, right? So like carnivores are not as carnivorous as people tend to think. Herbivores are not as herbivorous as they tend to think. But in the term, the way herbivory is used for a deer, it can be applied to a stegosaurus. That's unfortunately incorrect. You lose half your eggs.
Okay. Oh, no.
There is still one error left. Do you guys want to risk any gamble on it anymore?
I'd ask if you could repeat it one last time.
Okay. Stegosaurus is a large-scaled bipedal herbivore with a short neck and dragging tail. It is decorated by multiple rows of large back spikes and a single row of tail plates, which stand out from the monochrome tank green skin that clings tightly to the bones of its body. It has no further interesting features.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like we covered all the tail spikes and spikes and plates.
Grammatically, the only other thing is the neck, but I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, the way I imagine it in my head, it's like the stegosaurs I've never seen represented with anything but a rather short neck.
Can I make an argument regarding my last point?
Mm-hmm.
Because my question was, my doubt was, maybe they are not entirely herbivores, which is actually...
How many eggs do you have?
As you said, for example, when I was little, I literally fed a bunny rabbit meat.
That sounds awful.
Exactly. So, by mistake.
Yeah, but the point is,
I think we should both not risk it.
Like
maybe they are not.
I would describe a deer as a quadrupedal. I would describe a deer as a quadrupedal.
No risk, both sides.
Right. Yeah.
So,
well, maybe they are not entirely.
Yeah, I mean, they were. Okay. They seemed like they were pretty much as herbivorous gets, which means probably they ate meat if they came across as they probably consumed snails and invertebrates as they ate every once in a while. I'm sure they might have eaten meat on occasion when it was easy to access, but they were not specialized for it. They ate the majority of their diet was plant matter, right? That's what I mean as herbivore in this case.
Right.
Okay. Me and Brontosaurus have shaken hands on continuing in silence and letting this one go.
All right. The final point is they don't have a short neck. Their neck is long enough for them to reach the ground, and they're quite tall. So it's not a dog neck, and it's not an alligator neck. It's much more like a zebra neck or an ostrich neck. Yes, they actually have a fairly long neck, and a lot of representations make them like this Godzilla-like sort of really short, fat neck.
Exactly,
yeah, that's what I'm familiar with.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, that is inaccurate. They could not reach the ground if they did that. Which then they would die. So, what's this? It's time for speciation appreciation. You've adapted to the game fully. You guys are masters. You did it, dinos. You successfully survived long enough to develop special ability because of environmental selection pressures. In order of points, you receive the following power-ups. Who has the highest points?
I believe it is me.
All right, the Velociraptors.
17.
With your 17 eggs, you are essential to the food web. You receive Hadrosaur helplessness. Whenever you lose one or more eggs, every other player loses one egg. So whenever you lose one or more, they lose one each. No. So
wait, is this an ability I need to activate, or is this a trait that I possess?
It's a passive. It's a trait.
It's a passive.
It's a trait that you have for the rest of the game.
Oh God.
So Hadrosaurs are kind of like the default prey animal in many of the environments and ecosystems that people study for dinosaurs. So the joke is kind of always a random carnivore with a random hadrosaur being eaten. So that's what velociraptors in our game have developed into becoming a staple of the food chain. Everything always eats velociraptors. All right. Who has the second highest number of eggs? All right.
I think it's me with 14.
All right.
Yes.
You have Oviraptorosaur ovaries. You are very good at laying eggs. At the end of every question, you get one bonus egg, regardless of how you answered.
Oh, it's lovely.
So Oviraptorosaurs were thought that they are egg stealers. Turns out they're just egg layers, and the nest we found them on was their own. So falsely accused of theft.
Wow.
It's funny.
The black man of dinosaurs. I bet you stole these eggs.
Yeah, exactly. No, these are my eggs. And lastly, for the person in last place, Copernicus, you receive Ankylosaur armor. Nothing phases you. Whenever you would lose one or more eggs, you lose one egg instead. So if you would lose half your eggs, you lose one egg.
That is such a good trait.
Yeah.
I only have 7. It's very different.
All right. Time to head into the last lap, the final rumble. What eggs are we at right now? Velociraptors?
17.
Brontosaurs?
14.
Mosasaurs?
I just lost half, so 7.
7. All right. Question number 8, specialty question, derived knowledge. I will read a question for you. If you want, you can attempt to answer it immediately. If you do, you get 5 eggs. Otherwise, I read a multiple choice selection where only one answer is correct. Text me your answers. If you answer correctly, you get 3 eggs. If you answer incorrectly at any point, you lose half of your eggs. Same shtick as usually. All right? Okay. This is your prompt. We've gotten to the advanced material. This is the question. Extant phylogenetic bracketing is a process that allows us to understand dinosaurs better by comparing them to their closest living relatives. It's a general paleontological method. The rationale of extant phylogenetic bracketing is that if a feature shows up in both members of the bracket of the closest surviving relatives, it's more likely that their common ancestor shared the feature too. Right? Which 2 groups of animals are typically used to form the extant phylogenetic bracket of dinosaurs? So you have an opportunity now to answer before I give you the multiple choice question. If you answer without the multiple choice prompts, you get 5 eggs.
So
the 2 extant. What was the last word?
Of dinosaurs. Dinosaurs was the last word. The best word, really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Should I explain it again?
Do we have to mention exactly the name of the dinosaur or the
No, you
group?
have to say which group of animals. So basically,
okay.
extant phylogenetic, maybe I didn't explain it super well. Extant phylogenetic bracketing is when you take an animal that is extinct, you want to know something about it, so you look at the 2 closest surviving relatives.
Surviving.
The 2,
meaning existing.
Yeah, that's what extant means in this
Extant.
context. It means surviving, right? You look at the 2 closest surviving relatives and say that the sort of ancestor is between, and say, well, if these people have it, then probably the earlier thing had it too, right? So if you kind of imagine, right, grandpa is dead and we can't study him anymore, but we'd like to know his eye color. Well, if we look at the eye color of his surviving daughter and his surviving son, maybe there's something that we can say about him and his eye color.
The question.
You would like to answer the question without the multiple choice?
Yes.
All right, Brontosaurus, give me what you got.
Birds and reptiles.
That is unfortunately incorrect. You lose half of your eggs. Any other brave souls before the multiple choice comes up?
I was thinking roughly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I don't have as much choice.
Birds is hard that it is not. Reptiles, I mean, is reptiles wrong because it's too vague?
Yes.
Okay.
And lizards.
So it needs to be. You can say that, but do you want to rush into answering?
I lose 1 egg.
I can also read out the multiple choice prompt to you guys. It's still worth 3 points if you answer the multiple choice prompt correctly.
Do I get to answer the multiple choice?
No, you can't answer it anymore. You already tried to answer. Sorry, Brontosaurus.
Let's do the multiple choice for me.
Are you okay with that, Velociraptors? Theia? We good with that?
Give me a second.
1.
That's it.
Yeah.
You got your second.
Yeah. All right. Your 3 prompts are iguanas and birds. That's A. B is birds and crocodiles. And C is reptiles and avians.
Well, you said the reptiles was too vague. You already admitted to that.
That's true, yeah.
Okay,
so the first is iguana and birds.
Yes.
And then we have birds and crocodiles. And the third option was
reptiles and avians.
And that's it.
Yes.
These 3. Okay. Yeah, I know crocodiles are extremely ancient.
They are really ancient.
They are ancient. But they already existed when there were dinosaurs. That's the thing. So actually, I know they already branched out. But maybe, dinosaurs and crocodiles shared an ancestor at some point.
Text me your answers.
Okay, yeah.
Iguanas and birds
is option A. Option B is birds and crocodiles. And option C is reptiles and avians.
Okay, yeah. I made my choice.
Avians? I mean, you said reptiles is too big anyway, so say it's not that.
Okay, I'm gonna try this. Yeah.
Somebody's sleeping on the couch.
I think crocodiles are just simply too old. They are.
I
too
think we
far.
both voted the same.
I think we voted.
No, sorry, fuck. That's not an option. That's not an option.
That's not one of the options.
That's not one of the options. Right, just
Velociraptors answered something that was not one of the options.
No.
That's the final.
No, it's an A, B, or C question. Your answer does have to conform to A, B, or C.
Yeah.
All right. Those were both wrong answers.
No.
So Velociraptors and Mosasaurus both voted iguanas and birds. It makes sense. Iguanodon. Unfortunately, it is birds and crocodiles are typically the two groups that are chosen as the extant phylogenetic group. So if crocodiles have it and birds have it, we think it's plausible that dinosaurs could have had it. If only one of them has it, we think maybe it's slightly less plausible, but this is sort of one of these guesstimation methods that we can use to sort of...
news.
Mhm.
I lost some eggs. So on top of whatever you lost, you lose one more egg and you lose one more egg.
Yes. Because the food web is collapsing.
The
Unfortunately,
food-
each of you get -1 egg.
I'm dragging you down with me.
But you only lose 1 egg in total from this question because of your ankylosaur
Mhm.
armor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I only lose 1.
Yes.
Okay.
If
Thank
you would
you.
lose
So
1 or
now-
more.
I have 7 eggs. How many eggs have you?
6
9.
because I lose over here.
It's neck and neck. And at the end of the question, your oviraptorosaur ovaries. I'm so
already-
sorry that you were the one who got it.
I already
You
added
can-
it. 7 includes that.
All right. Cool. Perfect. Then on to question number 9, the penultimate question. This question type is called Dividing Dinos. I will read a question to you with multiple choice selection of answers. There are 4 correct answers and multiple false answers.
Sorry, how many?
4 correct.
No,
4
how many
are correct.
questions? One question with 4 correct answers?
There's 1 question,
Mhm.
and then there are 4 correct answers,
Uh-huh.
and a variable number of incorrect answers as well.
Mm.
Text me which 4 you think are correct. For each correct one you identified, you get 2 eggs. But at the end of the question, if any of the ones that you selected were wrong, you do still lose half of your eggs. Okay?
Okay.
So we add
So if
up
you
all the
get-
positive ones,
for example-
and then we have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for example, if you get 3 out of the 4 correct ones and then 1 wrong one, then you would receive 6 eggs and then half your eggs. Okay?
Right.
All right. This is your question.
I have
Which-
1 question, though.
Yes.
You might want to edit this out.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a question about my power-up.
Mm-hmm.
My power-up plus his means that I just end up with half of my eggs regardless. Because every time the question ends, I have to lose 1 egg if he lost an egg. So whenever he loses an egg, my power-up is non-existent.
Well, your power-up is giving you 1 extra egg at the end of every question.
Yes, but for example, I had 14. I answered incorrectly.
Mm-hmm.
That's 7.
Mm-hmm. Then
That-
he gave you -1, and then you got +1.
So I'm still at 7.
Yeah, which is better than being at 6.
Yes, but so it cancels out his
I mean,
negative.
Well,
effect.
if he always keeps getting it wrong,
if I keep them wrong. Also, like Copernicus
he
didn't
just
have
lost
that
eggs.
buffer. Copernicus lost.
Yeah,
them.
but his buffer means he just only gets -1 regardless whenever anything goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love it.
Yeah, the interaction is a little bit odd, but
This is fair and square.
I mean, I'm the one who loses the eggs regardless.
Which of the following features have been found in dinosaurs so far? Venom glands, that's A. B is 4-winged or 4-limbed flight or gliding. C,
Go slower.
C is membrane-bound flight. D is full marine adaptations. E is axe-like tails,
Axe. Oh.
so like a bladed tail.
Mm.
F is full mole-style burrowing adaptations.
Oh, wow.
So what I mean by that, right, is like rabbits are good at burrowing,
Mm.
right? And meerkats are good at burrowing,
Mhm.
but they're not like 100% committed to burrowing, right? So I'm not talking like armadillo burrowers. I'm talking like full underground, all day, every day, mole-style burrowers.
Mole-style. Okay, yeah. As in like...
As in a mole.
Most of the time.
Yeah, I mean like moles, when the moles come up. Barely ever, right?
Barely ever, yeah. Okay.
Live birth.
Live birth.
And lastly, sinuses more twisty than a silly straw. Sinuses are the pathways of the nose, the air pathways of the nose, basically.
Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 options.
It goes up to H.
Yeah, there are 8 options. Of these, 4 are correct. Text me the ones you think are correct.
When you say full marine adaptation, we're talking about being able to breathe underwater? Or does a dolphin...
A whale is fully marinely adapted.
Okay.
A dolphin is fully marinely adapted. A sea turtle is fully marinely adapted. A otter is
not really.
Because I guess they spend a lot of time on land too.
They're just floating.
A beaver is not, right?
Yeah.
So that's where we draw the line.
Well, sea otters have to
stay wet because they have a thick skin.
Okay, sea otters are on the one side and other otters are on the other side of the dividing line.
Okay, yeah. Venom gland could be interesting. It would be cool if it's true, huh?
Do the Stegosaurus' spikes, which are sharp, count as would they count as axe-like adaptation?
No, because they're a spike. In D&D terms, they deal piercing damage.
Okay, we're talking about slashing.
We're talking about a tail that looks like it has a blade on it.
What about the tails that can break the sound barrier?
That's not
Does that
sharp.
count as
Is it axe-like? It's more whip-like, I would say. Axe-like, like there's like kind of like a blade on it is what it would imply,
okay,
right?
Okay, yeah. 4 of these. Okay.
I'm getting sullen disappointment in one corner. I'm getting mischievous eye contact in another corner, and unbridled joy in the third corner.
Now, why are you people on your phones?
Because you need to text me the answer.
Oh, okay.
Listening comprehension is interesting.
I'm sorry.
You have to text me the 4 that you believe are correct.
I didn't know that people are already deciding. I'm still contemplating.
It's the penultimate question, Dinos.
I wish we could make more joke answers. Those were my favorite ones. And I
thought
points.
you might love those. I put them in there just for you.
Wow.
Because I love you so much, Proteus.
Thank you, Ceres.
You're welcome.
4-limbed flight.
What are
so a 4-limbed flight?
Yeah.
Is it like when a what's it called?
You fly
like a sugar glider.
Yeah, like
Where you
a
have-
squirrel, like a squirrel that has.
Yeah,
It
that
has
would
the
kind of
things.
that would be 4-limbed gliding, right?
Yeah.
But I
It's
said
not
4-limbed
flight.
flight or gliding.
Yes.
Yeah, so gliding would mean yes.
So yeah, a sugar glider would apply. But a sugar glider is obviously not a dinosaur.
How is it
As far as we know.
No, we know that one pretty confidently.
Which one?
Tiny sugar glider going. Rah.
Yeah,
So unprofessional.
Proteus just said, what if sugar gliders, are we sure sugar gliders aren't dinosaurs? And I said, yes, we are very confident.
But it would be cute.
It would be cute.
It would be cute.
We have venomous glands.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
4-limbed
Love that.
flight/gliding. Membrane-bound flying, which I assume just means flying with a membrane instead of...
So like birds, right? They fly with fleshy arms covered in feathers, right? So that's not membrane-bound flying, right? That's just like using their arms, right? A pterosaur, on the other hand, or a bat, right? They've got these big leathery membranes they use to fly. That's what we mean by membrane-bound.
Pterosaur doesn't count as a dinosaur.
Right, that is accurate. That's why I can use it as an example.
Oh!
Yeah.
You shouldn't have said anything. You would have got him.
No, I am nothing but a fair player. When I saw the light in their eyes, I knew I had to quash it.
All right.
You're welcome.
All right, dinos, come on. The end Cretaceous beckons us. Send me your answers.
This is difficult.
It is difficult. But think about what you know of crocodiles and birds. Think about what you know about how long dinosaurs were around for. Think about what you know about what sauropods look like, ornithischians look like, what theropods look like. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alrighty. Let's start with the brontosaurs. The brontosaurs selected as accurate BEHF. So four-winged/limbed flight, axe-like tails, sinuses more twisty than a silly straw, and full mole-style burrowing adaptations. 3 of these are correct. The full mole-style burrowing adaptations are unfortunately not correct.
No.
So you receive 6 eggs, and then you lose half of your eggs.
So I have 7, so I lose 6, and then
So you stay at 7.
Mm.
You gain 6, you go up to
Pretty nice.
13, and then you go back down to 7.
Pretty nice.
but
Pretty nice, yeah.
I get an extra egg from my adaptation,
You will, yes, you get an extra egg from your adaptation at the end of the question.
and then
And then Theia might lose some. Okay. From the ankylosaurs, we have the response DHAE. Full marine adaptations. Sinuses more twisty than a silly straw. Venom glands. And axe-like tails. 3 of these are correct, but the venom glands are false. We haven't found any venom glands in any dinosaurs so far. There was a paper There was a paper suggesting it, but those are probably just the sinuses or other cavities in the skull.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and
There
people,
was a paper about
yeah,
it.
but
Uh-huh.
people got very upset about the paper. We're like, no, this is bullshit.
I think I saw it, actually. That's why, yeah.
All right, so you receive 6 eggs,
Mhm.
and then you lose 1 egg.
Thank you.
what were your answers?
Just 1 second. So I chose venom glands, full marine adaptations,
Mm-hmm.
axe-like tails,
Mm-hmm.
and sinuses twisty
More
as
twisty than a silly straw.
more
Oh my
twisty than
God.
a
So
silly
those are
straw, yeah.
ankylosaurs, by the way. Ankylosaurs have really twisty sinuses, and we don't know what they use them for.
Because those are the ones
They
with
go,
the...
yeah, those are
with the
the
head.
angry coffee tables
Yeah.
with the,
Yeah.
and but there's also the Parasaurolophuses or Parasaurolophuses. They also have twisty ones because they go through the horn and make the noise, right?
Ah, that's true.
But the ankylosaurs have really
You're
twisty ones that we
absolutely
don't know
right.
what they're for. And in fact, we found one that had like an infection in it, and it was like, yeah, I get why you have really bad sinuses.
That's fun, though.
Yes, and also the axe-like tails. There was these sort of ankylosaur-looking animals that had these tails that seem like they might have been kind of axe-like. They look kind of like
They have a plate
the
at the top, no?
the Macahuitl Central South American indigenous weapons.
Mhm.
Those clubs with the obsidian shards
Yeah.
in them.
Oh,
The
wow,
tails
yeah.
look kind of like that. They're long, flat, and have like these sharp
Yes, you're
side
absolutely
bones
right.
that are sort of
Yes.
like look
That's
axe-like, look like they might be for chopping.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I did the worst.
Just 1 second,
Uh-huh.
series.
Uh-huh.
How many eggs should I get from
You
this
get
game?
6 eggs,
6 eggs.
and then you
yes.
lose 1.
Ah, thank you very
Only
much.
1 because of your ankylosaur armor,
Thank you very
which is why you got both the ankylosaur correct things correct. Huh?
Oh,
Your
yeah.
regular ankylosaur.
Exactly.
All right. And from the velociraptors, we got ACDH, which would be venom glands, membrane-bound flight, full marine adaptations, and sinuses more twisty than a silly straw. No full marine adaptations. They didn't see. We have no marine dinosaurs. We only have marine reptiles, and venom glands, as I said, we already didn't have. So you receive 4 and then lose half. And you get to deal
And
your
you
1.
each, yeah,
You each lose
Deal
1 egg.
Damage.
Yes.
Please.
So, to cover again, 4-limbed and winged flight. Yes, there's a microraptor that has feathers on the forearms and on the legs. And the feathers, they look like flight feathers. They're like asymmetrical. So we think that they would sort of like put all 4 are like a sugar glider maybe and fly. Not sure. Nobody's sure yet. But yeah, there's evidence that that might be the case. Membrane-bound flight, there is, what were these called? There's very strange dinosaurs that they're like fluffy with feathers and they have little membrane-bound wings and buck teeth, and the back of their tail is kind of like a ruler, and it's like hard. It's like a plate, and maybe they thumped with it or something. But they're really cute, strange woodland dinosaurs, and they have little membranes. So we think they flew or glid with them at least.
Yeah, I figured because you said that we talked about how they didn't rule the skies.
Yeah.
Didn't rule the skies or the waters, but
So the correct answers are B, C, E, and H.
That is correct. Yes. Live birth also not found in dinosaurs yet. Mole-style burrowing adaptations not found in dinosaurs yet. The full marine adaptations, as we said, no marine dinosaurs, and the venom glands.
Because if they
I
adapted...
was so close.
You were really close. You did a great job, Proteus. You did a great job. That's what you were texting me. Oh, I did so awful, and I was like, no, you did fine. All right. Question number 10. Dinos, it's the very end.
It's the age of extinction.
It's time for Cretaceous chaos. There's a bright star in the sky. It's another dividing dinos question. I will read the question to you. There's a multiple choice selection of answers. There are 4 correct answers and multiple false answers. Text me the 4 that you think are correct. For each correct one identified, you get 2 eggs. But then if you got any wrong, you lose half your eggs. Let's talk about...
This part is so in favor of the adaptation.
I lost many eggs in the beginning.
It's your fault.
Well, I gambled.
No grumbling from the dinosaurs. You're supposed to be happy when you die. All right, we're at the end. Let's talk KPG extinction event. This is the extinction event that killed all the dinosaurs. It was actually not widely accepted until the 90s that it was a meteorite impact that had killed the dinosaurs. Mm-hmm. What pieces of evidence do we have that the extinction event was caused by a meteorite impact? Here is a suggestion of pieces of evidence. Some of them are true, some of them are not. Okay, evidence A. There's a giant crater in the Gulf of Mexico. B. A metal, iridium, is found in the same sedimentary layer that can only be, and iridium is deep in the core of the earth and can only be plausibly formed by an impact that would shower it outwards from a meteorite. C. We have fish fossils from the correct time period that died with impact material stuck in their gills. D. Simulations of the Earth's orbit over time indicate a slight shift must have occurred in the correct time window. E. There are still minor satellite rocks orbiting the Earth that have been collected and dated to the correct time period, which, how else would they get there, sort of? And then F. A giant meteorite hit Jupiter in 1994, indicating that large meteorite impacts are still plausible even at the current age of the solar system. Which of these pieces of evidence is truly a piece of evidence that indicates a meteorite is about to wipe you all out?
Which time period was that for Jupiter?
1994.
94, yeah.
And we are... How many of these are correct? 4?
4 of these are correct.
Out of 6.
And the rest are false.
Okay.
Why are you smiling at me like that?
I'm happy. Why aren't you all smiling?
Because we died. Thank you very much. Because we're about to go extinct.
But you did such awesome stuff while you were around for the millions and hundreds of millions of years that your lineage developed.
I look upon the glorious times when I had 17 eggs.
Before the climate changed and our ecological niche was threatened.
Before I got a single thing wrong.
Before you became... That was before you became essential to the food chain. Right? That's before you got your hadrosaur helplessness feature.
No, that's exactly. That was before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So before you became the prey animal for everything.
That was my prize for being so successful.
Yeah.
That I don't do anything to them.
Yeah, velociraptors are so abundant,
Yeah, but my trait is useless against them. I only hurt him.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
You're welcome.
Let's start with the brontosaurs, who sent in their answer first. They replied A, B, D, E. So they said the giant crater in the Gulf of Mexico, the metal iridium, the simulation of Earth's orbit, and the minor satellite rocks orbiting the Earth dated to the correct time period. The first 2 are correct, but unfortunately, the last 2 are not. So you receive 4 eggs and lose half of your eggs.
No.
So, yes, there is a giant crater in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yes.
This one, interestingly enough, was not found until late in the 90s, I think.
Maybe it was so big that people didn't realize it was a crater.
They didn't know it was a crater at first.
It was the iridium that led them to it, I believe. I don't remember fully the details on this episode, but...
People
four eggs, then minus half.
Yeah, exactly. But the gigantic crater in the Gulf of Mexico.
So I have 6...
Okay, 6 eggs is your final score.
Eggs.
I still want to say that I feel like with these 2 final questions, Copernicus's power is way overpowered.
But you'll see. You'll see why I'm overpowered over here.
Exactly. All right, let's go with the velociraptors next, who sent me their message next. A, again, the crater. B, again, the iridium, which is correct, by the way. Iridium is found deep in the Earth and only large impacts distributed across the Earth.
Yeah.
E, They're minor satellite rocks. Unfortunately, not correct as far as I know. And I made that up.
I Google it.
And then F, a giant meteorite. Yeah, so this was the Shoemaker-Levy comet, which hit Jupiter in 1994, indicating that large meteorite impacts are still plausible at this age of the universe. Before that, there was sort of this conception, this theory in cosmology, that we don't experience large meteorite impacts anymore at this age of the solar system. Mm-hmm. So it would be implausible for one to have killed the dinos 66 million years ago.
I had no idea that there was a large impact on Jupiter in 1994.
Yeah, I had no idea either. I guess it's just 5 years before I was born.
Yeah, same here.
But it was just like, I was like, holy cow, really? That was a big deal?
Wait, 1994?
Yeah, 1994.
None of us were born.
I don't think so.
Exactly, yeah.
Not even you.
Not even me. I know, yeah.
All right, and lastly, from the mosasaurs, from Copernicus, we have A, B, C, and F, which is the full enchilada. 100% correct. Yes.
Woo!
We have fish fossils from the correct time period with impact debris stuck in their gills that probably drowned them because they couldn't breathe through the impact debris.
Which is exactly very true.
So there's like these little balls, I guess. I only heard them described on the podcast, but like from an impact, they go up molten in the air and they come back down and they have a peculiar shape and they're called tektites. Mm-hmm. We found these stuck in fish gills, and the fish are from the correct time period, and so we know there was a giant meteorite impact.
I was sure that like because of how much time it was like those gills don't exist anymore.
No, we find these stuck in the gills, in the fossils, and so there was a whole podcast episode on terrible lizards where a researcher who she was studying these fish fossils was talking about it. Yeah, which is, I thought, really, really cool. Well,
but actually for this question, I had 8 points. I think I guessed, but then, for example, D, that we can simulate the Earth orbit and then find a shift.
Yeah,
it's
I don't know
very
how
difficult to do in practice.
I don't know how we would actually do that or how we would actually measure that. I came up with it and I was like, yeah, this sounds kind of plausible when you first hear it, but if you think about it, I don't know actually how we would do it. Yeah.
And then you have another answer, which is satellite rock orbiting the Earth.
Yeah.
How are you able to capture it?
So that was one of the reasons I picked it. Yeah,
it would be very difficult to know.
I was like, "There's nobody
orbiting the Earth."
Paleontology gets enough research money as it does. There's probably not a satellite that's just going around the Earth trying to scoop up rocks and test if they're Cretaceous.
That's how I figured out.
But there is a fun and certainly entirely correct theory that maybe there's dinosaur fossils on the moon because of a dinosaur that got flung there from.
Yeah, I just found it here that they made simulations. Actually, there is probably a lot of space rocks, a lot of rocks from the Earth floating in space currently.
Yeah.
They haven't found them from what I can find. Like they haven't found them, but the simulations say that they're there. So
unfortunately, I did not say that there were simulations of those rocks. I said that we had those rocks.
You can do the simulation for the rocks, but you cannot do it for the orbit. And fun fact is, when they first discovered the crater, people were like, "Oh, this must be." When they realized it was from the meteorite impact. They sent many people there to mine materials from the meteorite, but it was not possible. They couldn't find anything because the energy that was vaporized from the meteorite impact vaporized everything from the meteorite.
And it's actually interesting because it would have been a mass extinction event probably no matter where the meteorite hit Earth, but the place that it hit was actually really bad because there was like all of this like I can't remember, but I think it was like a carbon shelf geologically and being right on the coast. Yes. That was a problem. Like the exact spot where it hit was a problem that made the climate change that it caused from the dust in the atmosphere way, way worse. And you have to imagine, the Earth rotates pretty fast. If the comet had come 8 hours earlier or later, it would have struck it landed in two completely separate oceans, So the timing, the sort of whatever the opposite of serendipity is of that moment for it to create the mass extinction to the extent that it created it is really interesting and fun. But yeah, I mean, everything big died. Everything big died in the seas, on land. The seas are slightly more protected, but on land, but that's common for mass extinctions. So again, circling back to something we said earlier, it's not like, oh, why did specifically the dinosaurs go extinct at this point in time? It's like, the place blew up. It was not a good time to be alive. But anyways, dinos, that brings us to our final scoring.
So I lost my extra point because he had one.
Right, because Theia also lost one, and he's essential to your food web. So,
And,
Brontosauruses, Proteus, tell us, how many eggs
6.
did you get? 6. Velociraptors, how many eggs do you have?
Embarrassingly 7.
7. Okay.
how many eggs do I get from the final
I feel
question?
so high.
You got 8.
I got 8.
Yeah, because you got all 4 right.
Then I have 19 eggs. in total.
And
Yeah, exactly.
See what I'm talking
One
about?
from him.
I don't get one from him, actually.
No,
No,
you do.
you lose one from him.
if
You
you would
lose
lose one or
maximum
more,
1.
you lose 1. So
You lose at least 1.
you lose
So
at
if
least
you did
1,
lose
right?
any,
But
then you lose
I don't lose any for the last question, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you
you
lose
lose
1 from him because
okay.
he's a
Then
hadrosaur.
I will lose 2 because you lost previously. I didn't deduct 1.
Okay, so then you're at 15.
But on the
So I
previous, you
have
also have.
17 now.
On the previous one, you also had the wrong one.
Yeah, but I gained eggs and then I only lost
One.
Then
one.
you halved.
No,
but
then
No,
you
I
did
do
have.
they only
They
lose
only
1
lose
because
one.
of their armor.
Yeah.
There's no half losing.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
there's no
But
half losing.
what Copernicus is saying is on a prior question,
Mhm.
they didn't mark the -1 from you
From
because
you,
they thought it
yes.
didn't count
Mhm.
to that
So
base
you
17.
their
have
armor.
17.
Okay, so that means our I can't even remember what the title was. What was it?
The best ever dino
The
quiz.
Sauropod.
The smartest-saur. The best species to end up ruling the
Cerebrosaur
Earth.
should be called.
And I can't remember. There was some dino crowning or something. Oh yeah, crown the smartest saur. So that's you.
Yeah.
All right,
I am-
Copernicus is our smartest saur of this quiz. Maybe we'll do another quiz in future. They're kind of high effort to develop, but they're still kind of fun. And now we all know a little bit about the basics of dinosaurs. So
Yeah, that was.
Thank
really
you,
fun.
Ceres, for
Thank
making
you,
this.
Ceres, for making the quiz.
At least I didn't lose so horribly. I only have 1 egg less.
For the next quiz,
Yeah.
I make sure to suck in the beginning, so I get all the goodies, and then I'll be good.
that's kind of how I designed the quiz. Is that like the first power up is like kind of the least impactful, the middle areas and slightly more impactful, and then the last power up 3/4 through the quiz is the most impactful.
Maybe
had only
we
two
need to
power-ups.
Maybe we need to put
The middle, the egg laying, right? The fun questions.
Yeah,
the
the
fun
fun.
question.
Maybe
Yeah,
the fun.
of course, I'm like
question.
slightly biased there. I'm trying to shore up players who have less points, and
Oh, so it wasn't actually funny what I
No,
said.
I thought yours was very funny. But if there's like a tiebreaker scenario where I'm like, these are both funny, then I'm going to give it to the person with the less eggs, right? Because
Incredible.
But if
Alright.
I hadn't done well in those, then I would have like
Those were
had better
successful,
power
I think.
ups. So
yeah,
You got.
you
a
did. You kind of
successful
had the issue that you
pioneer.
did really well in quarter 3 of the quiz.
No.
And so
You
then
were
when the
entirely
power ups
carried by
after
your
quarter 3
power-ups.
came,
But
yeah, maybe I should make
Correct.
weaker power ups next time. It's kind of they're a little hard to design when you
Or
don't know how the game works
more-
yet
yeah.
because you've never ever
actual
played it ever.
jokes. So
More
that-
joke questions.
Yeah, so that
I feel
it's
like the
knowledge
power
and
ups should have
joke
had
are half.
like a cap, but
Mhm.
not such a weak cap.
But
Mhm.
come
Like-
on, I got everything correct for the last question.
Yeah, for the last question, but for the second one, you should have lost half of your eggs and you
got
didn't.
one incorrect, and
Yeah, but I mean, the
so
thing-
did I.
The fact that they beat you guys by like 10 though feels to me like even
Yeah.
without the power up, they would have gotten it.
Nice.
Thank you all for playing. Thanks for attending.
Thank you,
It was very
Ceres.
fun. Thank you.
I don't really have any final thoughts other than I had a lot of fun talking about dinosaurs.
Yeah,
Do you guys have
this was
anything you'd
fun.
like to plug?
Oh boy, plugs. Let's see.
Plugs.
Moment of time.
Yes. 1 second. Yeah.
Listen more to this podcast and read good books.
Thank you
that's
very
a
much,
really good one,
Proteus.
yeah.
Well, yesterday we played a certain game called Debatable, and it was a lot of fun. It's a game that, well, okay, it was a lot of fun for the ones of us who have a fun-loving spirit,
Uh-huh.
and not fun for those who are too competitive.
Oh, okay.
But for those who enjoy a good game amongst friends and don't mind losing,
hmm
And also enjoy
Coming
some,
off of the tale of complaining about your power up.
and the fact that I lost yesterday
also-
at Debatable, I was the first one to go out.
and also who enjoy a little bit of improvisation because you have to be able to improv.
Yeah. It's more. I think the thing with Debatables, it's more of an improv game than
Yeah.
it is a debate game. And once you get that through your brain, then you.
I
Have
mean,
more
the
fun.
game asks you to debate whether if you die in your dream, you die in real life.
Yeah, but it
and as
also
someone who
asks-
has died in my dream,
But it's also,
Actually, you're dead, and this is all
Yeah,
like
exactly.
the afterlife. Actually,
which also
What a
is a
shitty
question you can
afterlife.
debate
Which
about.
also exists.
sorry, just like it, sorry. Have you used the last election? Would you describe this as a good afterlife?
Yeah, but the weird thing
No,
about
no,
the game
no.
is they also let you like debate gay marriage, so it's strange. It's
Yes.
not all silly questions.
It's
Some of them are
weird,
serious
yeah.
debates.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But okay, that's your plug,
Yes.
Copernicus.
And at last, I would like to plug in a book written by Cixin Liu
Mm-hmm.
that the story is mainly about how dinosaurs and ants work together to build civilizations.
It's a
I
cool
heard a
book.
little bit about that book.
Yeah,
Sounds
speaking
pretty cool.
of Dino, it's a very fun book. It's also rather light, so you can finish it pretty rapidly if you want.
I'm going to plug Terrible Lizards. It's a podcast on Spotify and I'm sure other places where they talk about dinosaurs with Izzy Lawrence from the BBC and Dave Hone, who's a paleontologist from England. Or from the UK, but he's from London. So Dave Hone also has a book out called Uncovering Dinosaur Behavior. So I haven't read it, but go check it out. I had a great time listening to their podcast. Alrighty, folks. That'll just about do it for our 12th episode. If you want more, you can find us at youtube.com/@afriendlyorbit, as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you happen to have any astral echoes you want to share with us, you can email us at afriendlyorbit@gmail.com. All one word.
All right, Ceres, Proteus, Copernicus. I'll talk to you later. And to all of you fellow Voyagers, we will catch you out there amongst the stars.
Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.